Hello, and welcome to Babellion Studios' 2022 Oscar Preview Series. Today, we're discussing Nightmare Alley, directed by Guillermo Del Toro. I'm Sophia Cumella, making my big debut. Go easy on me. And this is my co-host,
Titus Oldham. Welcome back, guys. This is our third episode. Very excited to talk about this one. I had not a lot of expectations for this one. I feel like this was pretty well marketed, but at the same time, it wasn't as big of a deal as like the past two we were talking about, like Don't Look Up and Dune. I feel like those were trending quite a bit through the socials. So
definitely
a lot of people were talking about those.
Bigger ad budget.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, I feel like this compared to like some of the later ones we'll talk about, like Coda, Belfast, definitely had a, let's say, like a bigger reach and marketability, because I feel like it's a recognizable cast for the most part. I think that was the biggest draw, maybe. Yeah, very much star-studded, I would say. And so it was nominated for Best Picture, but it was also nominated for 3 other categories, which were Cinematography from Dan Lawson, Costume Design, Luis Sakira, Production Design, which is split between Tamara Deverell and Shane Vo. All of these people Guillermo Del Toro had worked with before, mostly on the Shape of Water, which he won Best Directing with.
Yeah.
And so, is there anything missing from these nominations, Sophia? Any snubs?
Yeah, this is what I wanted to get off my chest right off the bat.
Right off the bat.
My grievances with the Oscars this year. Why wasn't Bradley Cooper nominated for Best Actor? But what's worse is, why wasn't Cate Blanchett nominated for Best Supporting Actress? These are questions I asked myself right after I finished watching, because it doesn't add up.
Does not.
Like, at all. And I'm already having other issues with the Oscars, which I warned Titus I'm going to get into, which I'm going to get into, like, real quick right now. I promise it won't take a long time. The awards for Best Documentary Short, Editing, Makeup and Hairstyling, Original Score, Production Design, Animated Short, Live Action Short, and Sound will be handed out earlier in the show, pre-broadcast.
What?
Why?
Really?
Why? Because ratings were so low and they wanted to make the show shorter, right? Okay. Do I agree the Oscars are long-winded? Is this the solution, though, to create some kind of hierarchy? No, I don't agree with that. So, I don't know what the solution, like, is, but it's not that. Tell us, Titus. He has an idea.
The thing about all of those awards that are typically in the program is that they draw all of them out to the same length. But I think everyone has a fair understanding that certain awards have a bigger gravity to them than others, like the acting ones, directing, Best Picture at the end of the day. Those have more gravity to them. We all know this. And so we can draw those out as long as we have been, but the others we can kind of like get through pretty quickly. We don't have to. I mean, I would still like it if they maintained the length of the speeches that everyone gets, but as far as like announcing the nominations and like the whole like bits, the award people have. The hosts, the presenters, they always like have like the 1 to 2 minute like spiels about the category or whatever. Yeah. We can just like jump right to the chase, give them an award, let them have their moment, get them off stage as fast as possible at the beginning of the program, leading up to some of the bigger categories. And I feel like we would cut down on time quite a bit while also still giving people their national televised moment.
Yeah. So I wasn't a fan of that. And it was getting a lot of backlash online, I bet, according to Twitter. So
a lot of categories had already been condensed. Like sound is just one category now, whereas before it was, at one point I'm pretty sure it was like 3 different categories. You know, there's sound effects, sound mixing, sound recording, all of that. And now it's just sound. I mean, obviously score is also a different one as well. Oscars. So you could say those are 2 separate categories, but still it's kind of sketchy to me.
And, like, some of the stuff is just, like, the behind-the-scenes stuff, which I feel like never gets enough clout to begin with. True. But anyway, this isn't why we're here.
Yeah.
So back to Nightmare Alley. Like we were just saying, incredible cast, am I right? Like, I was so excited about this cast.
Even like the smaller roles were still recognizable to some degree, and yeah, I just really appreciated just like familiar faces, especially with a sort of a dated like timepiece feel that they were going with, like a lot of unfamiliarity, or more so like having to like remember like what that time was even like, just based off of like recollection of like other media depictions, or for the rare few of you out there who actually lived through that time, I feel like it was nice to have familiar faces through it. Otherwise, I feel like it would have felt more like a slower movie, maybe.
Yeah, I agree with that. And also, have you ever seen the movie Carol?
I have not.
It came out in like 2015. It was starring Cate Blanchett and Rooney Mara.
Right.
So I love that movie. Mm-hmm. So when I found out they were going to be in another movie together, I was so hyped, but it wasn't really in the same context at all. So for the people who have seen Carol, you'll understand. But I was begging for a reunion, and I guess I got one, so I have to be happy with that.
They never really overlapped though. I don't think.
Yeah.
I mean, the one scene where Cate Blanchett was introduced. Lilith? Was that her character's name? I believe it was. Yeah. Miss Lilith.
She should have been nominated.
So good.
Okay. So speaking, I was, this is when I said, like, this is when I was taking my notes on. I have like little notes right here. And Bradley Cooper said in his like Actors on Actors interview with Mahershala Ali that this was an example of his insecurities coming out for this role, because Leonardo DiCaprio was originally cast and he felt like he was never a part of that group of like Hollywood elite. Like they were in a different category above him. So when Leo dropped out, he was like, oh, the people who didn't originally want to hire me now are trying to hire me. And he felt very insecure because, yeah, he just wasn't a part of that group. Bradley Cooper, if you're out there listening, you invented that group as far as I'm concerned.
That's so funny. I could not imagine Leonardo DiCaprio in that role. After watching the movie and seeing how good of a job Bradley Cooper did, I can't even see it.
Yeah, I'm happy that it worked out the way it did.
And I know, like, Leo's got range. He's got a lot of versatility. I'm sure he would have done a...
We're not bashing Leo.
Yeah. I'm sure he would have done a fine job, but just, like, after seeing how good of a job Bradley Cooper did, it's hard to imagine anyone else filling those shoes.
I also realized, which is just insane to think about, Bradley Cooper recorded Licorice Pizza in the middle of this. Wildly different roles. I don't understand how he, like, flipped a switch like that. I guess this isn't, like, a podcast on how actors act, but, like, I don't know. Just thinking about that was remarkable to me.
Well, I haven't seen Licorice Pizza yet. We will get into it, but... How major was his role, like, screen time wise?
It was not, like, a very, like, long, it was, like, he was probably in Licorice Pizza for, like, 15 minutes total.
Okay.
But just insanely different characters. I don't know how they do it. Yeah,
there's a lot of casting overlap here. That's actually a really crazy triangle, because Cate Blanchett was also in Don't Look Up, which is also Best Picture, which, as we know, has Leo, who was going to be in Nightmare Alley. So just like,
also,
they're all just getting passed around to all the different directors.
Dafoe just being in Spider-Man. How is he doing it? How is anyone doing anything? How do you have time for this? Like, I don't know. Beats me. Anyway.
Just imagining like doing 2 movies in a year. Which I know more people do more than that often, but just to think about 2 in a year is, oh man.
That's just a lot.
Good money for sure, but.
Oh, that's for sure, yeah. Another thing I was thinking about throughout the movie, I don't know if you were thinking it, but I was thinking it, production design.
Well, yes, it was one of the things I was nominated for.
That's true.
I have some cool notes on that, actually, that I read in an interview with one of the people who's nominated tomorrow. I've got some cool notes, but I would like to hear what you thought.
That whole carnival, the circus that they threw together, absolutely unbelievable. Like, you could just tell how meticulous they were with every single little tiny detail. And I felt like some points shots kind of dragged on a little bit longer than they needed to because they wanted to show that off, like, and show the world building. Yeah, it was just beautiful and so creepy and like nothing I'd ever want to walk through, like if this circus was real. And everything after the circus, like, as well, like Cate Blanchett's like office and stuff, that was like so it was ridiculous. I also thought it was interesting that it was shot for both color and black and white. Like they set up the lighting. Yeah, that was one of the
things I was gonna talk about too. Yeah,
I wish that I was. Well, I didn't see the. Guillermo, don't be mad at me. I watched the first 20 minutes on my phone before bed. I know, that is like the worst thing. But
flips his table.
I just wanted to start it, and it was late, and I was just in bed, and I was like, right, like am I doing this right now? Like, and I did it. But where was I going with that? Oh, right, because I had to say I did not see it in the theater. Right. But I wish that I saw the black and white one in the theater, just because I feel like that would be really special. But yeah, instead I watched it alone in my room on my phone.
Yeah. So going back to the black and white part, it was definitely, I mean, story structure and the look of it was definitely inspired by a lot of film noir. And it was more like Guillermo actually didn't know which one he wanted to go with as he was shooting, so he was just prepared to do both.
That is so cool.
And so he made 2 different cuts, and they figured it was 2 different decisions that eventually led them to the fact that they were going to do a more wide release with the color. Is that 1, the studio prefers color more, typically.
Yeah, makes sense.
And then 2, mainly the colors of the carnival and the office. Like, there is just so much great color palettes used throughout that I think production designers especially, like, were really advocating for it to be a color film, because they put a lot of effort and like into finding specific shades of different colors as well, like really thoughtful considerations as far as like the pit where the geek was. They found a specific color from, like, they said that was like inspired from like an ancient Chinese manuscript. I don't remember exactly what the interview said, but it was like they really did like research into finding like symbolic colors mainly. And so one of the cool things I also read was it was just a nice little quote from her that said that they all became carnies at the end of the day because the setup was that rigorous and they wanted the look of it to be as authentic as possible, and to the point where they were painting things and then like purposely trying to give it a wear feel to it, like actually like overusing it before they put it on set, so they would like overuse it. Like, I don't know exactly what that means, like what they did with them, like
I'd like to be
just
on
like
set
beat them or like I don't know what they're doing to the banners
sorting that
specifically
out,
and then they'd paint over it again, and then it would just be a cycle to just get the right feel for like the wear of the banners and stuff like that. So just like a very rigorous production design process, and so if it didn't get a nomination, that would suck.
Yeah, and this is why, like, you telling me all this stuff gets me so mad about the whole production design thing not being aired. They said that they're gonna like interweave the acceptance speeches in the broadcast, but not good enough in my opinion. Like, listen to all the hard work they're doing.
Yeah.
Sucks.
And then The Office as well. She said that was probably her favorite sets to make because it was incredible. It took a lot of influence and inspiration from like some of her favorite like architects and designers, especially like the Art Deco period, which was a bit after what they said this like time period was like late 30s. I think they said specifically 1939. It was a bit of like a period after, but they still really wanted to go with that feel, just because, I don't know, the colors and the texture of it, I guess. But yeah, I feel like as far as the look of it goes, the time period definitely jumps around, but they were very decisive about it being 1939, especially when like Hitler was on the rise, and they specifically mentioned him invading Poland, and like throughout the entirety of the film you would hear snippets like on the radio or in the newspaper about like, oh, Germany's at it again or whatever, you know. And it's like I wasn't sure exactly if it really served a purpose other than like re-establishing to us like, oh, remember, like we're in the past. I felt like it was kind of needless, but at the same time,
I don't think there was any real motive besides like establishing the time period.
I do think it added a cool kind of like, I don't know, like an undertone of just like the rise of media as well. Like, I mean, when we think about these carnies, like they had to do a good job at like getting the word out that there was a carnival at all. And now we're seeing like newspapers starting to rise and like the radio starting to rise as well, because a lot of this stuff was still getting experimented with and like publicized at the time. So I thought it was a cool addition, but I don't know if it necessarily served the story well. But it was an interesting theme, I feel like.
Yeah, I didn't even consider the whole like rise of the media thing.
Yeah.
Which yeah, that's right. I mean, I guess they like had to rely on that.
I mean,
like
there are many points, even despite the like war efforts, where newspapers like kept coming up because I mean, at the end when he was like ripping through the newspaper to throw it in the fire, what did he see? He saw something.
Oh boy, I'm like
that led him back to the carnival. I don't remember the exact article that I saw, but it led him back to the carnival, which, I mean, the film noir aspect of that story really paid off, you know.
Oh, was it like right at the end?
Yeah, right at the end where he's at the fire.
He saw like an ad or like promo for Xena.
Right, yeah.
Which is Toni Collette's character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then I guess that pulled him right back in.
Yeah.
And it couldn't stay away.
So yeah, I think that film noir feel to this movie was very well done. Because I feel like it's very hard with film noir to have an ambiguity that doesn't also kind of get you disinterested and like not engaged, because some things can be so ambiguous to the point where you like kind of give up on the story. You just get lost. But this one kept you engaged, and I think that is with the help of the production design, just the beautiful colors and the action of it, and just how fun the carnival seemed, but also how creepy it could also be, especially at night.
You talking about like the ambiguity of things just made me think of how the movie just constantly kept me guessing. Like, I did not know anything that was like everything I thought was gonna happen was just incredibly wrong.
The entire just the premise and the plot.
I didn't even know like what like while I was watching, I didn't know what category of movie this would fit in, because I was like, oh, is this like some kind of crime mystery thing? Is this some kind of like twisted love story going on?
Especially the way it started off with,
it felt kind of supernatural. Like there was just so much happening, which sometimes can get messy, but I think here it worked. And I think the ending was a huge payoff. Like, and it all the dominoes fell right into place and stuff. So I think that worked out well.
Yeah.
Like you said, did not get disengaged with it.
Yeah, because the way it started off as well, it felt like there were just like phases of the movie where it was like the way it started off made it feel like it was a crime movie, but then the second phase felt more like an adventure almost, like with the carnival.
Just two kids trying to make it in the world.
Yeah, and then the romantic aspect as well, like definitely felt more fun. And then the second part like returned to the crime aspect, and like it just kept almost jumping genres, but in a way that was very fluid and kept you guessing.
Completely. Yeah, like also the whole like first act, like you were saying, like the whole like crime aspect. The first act with the whole carnival thing before they take off was so captivating. I thought best part, probably. Yeah, probably. Best part. So. Then the middle, I do think, like, I don't think any of the parts should have been kept, like, cut down. I think they all, like, served their purpose and worked well. That being said, the middle part didn't dazzle me as much as the grittiness of the first part did. But then again, we get back to the ending, like we said. Like, for me, I think that was the best ending. Am I allowed to say the ending? Like, do I?
Yeah, you can spoil it, I think. Hey, spoiler alert.
I don't know if I should.
I think it's fine.
It worked out very well. Like, and Bradley Cooper got what was coming to him. I also found that I frequently had to remind myself throughout the movie that this is the bad guy. Like, he's not a good person.
That's true.
And sometimes, like, right now, I'm like, am I the only one who was feeling that? Because I love Bradley Cooper so much. Newsflash, he is my favorite actor. Or, like,
it's a great
was
example.
He genuinely that charming?
Right. It's a great example of an anti-hero.
Yeah.
Just because
so charming.
Because there are multiple points where he, like, started, quote unquote, from the bottom.
Right.
And was working his way up. And so, like, I feel like that was
had a ton of trauma.
Yeah, that was the importance of, like, that beginning scene that was so ambiguous throughout the entire film, where he burnt that house on fire and was, like, hiding the body, because it started with him ending a previous part of his life that would only get kind of, like, referenced throughout, but then he started from the bottom of a new life as a carny, worked his way up, and then more so as, like, a Vegas act in the second act, working his way up and rising in the ranks of that. Even though we didn't really see it, we didn't see, like, the beginnings of, like, their rising of the ranks. We saw the later part of it, and especially as he was, like, getting clientele at that, and not just becoming, like, a show person, but the spook show, I guess. And then the resolution of it was him also having to work his way up back from the bottom. And that's where it kind of ended, where he was still kind of at the bottom and, like, at the beginning of the next phase of his life, which could easily be, like, the last if you know, like, the whole geek situation.
The chills he's, like, right now. Listening you talk about that.
When we, like, I think looking at, like, how the movie worked as, like, a cycle, it made a lot of sense, because there are a lot of, like, symbols for that as well, like the watch. The watch was, like, referenced early in the Carney sequence, and then later on he gave it away to basically keep living at that campsite, or to keep being an alcoholic, one or the other. I wasn't exactly sure what he was paying for, but probably both. Yeah. And then there was also the radio, because he gave the radio to stay at the carnival and take it up as a job, and then he saw the radio with the new showrunner. Yeah, there are a lot of symbols for this being, like, a cycle of life that he was going through particularly. And I thought they did a really good job at not just starting from a point where he was completely at the bottom, but actually revealed the end of a cycle and then ending on the beginning of one. I thought that was cool.
Now that you're talking about all that, you know how like, the whole time we never, I think we, like, really got into his mind, but at the same time we didn't fully understand his trauma the whole time and what he was going through, so there was still a bit of, like, a sheet over him. I don't know how you would, like, describe that, but and there was that one quote that was, like, people just want, like, what was it, like, people just want to know who they are, like, something like that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
That was a quote that kept coming up.
I don't remember exact, like, phrasing.
Well, that was important, because it also revealed the whole cycle of him, like, looking up to, like, older men and taking after them, kind of. It was people just, like, it's like people want to be seen, or people want to,
I don't know. Lines.
It's almost like they want to be exposed, like, along that line.
And, like, as soon as shit already hit the fan for him, but then when Cate Blanchett, like, really stuck it to him at the end and, like, told him who he was, then things really fell apart. Yeah. And it's like, wow. Yeah. So once the truth's revealed, then it's like he can't hide anymore, and just he's at the bottom again.
And I love that scene, because it's so important, because he thinks he's so high and mighty because he can do all that mentalism stuff. but at the end of the day, he can be hyper fixated on like greed and like all these sins that like keep coming up in his life, to the point where it doesn't even matter if he can do that mentalism stuff. He's not even like being aware of all of the signs around him, like the fact that her clutch was heavier or whatever, and that she had a gun the whole time, you know? Like, he was so hyper fixated towards the end on the greed that it didn't matter all the other stuff that he had learned, all the skills he had attained, because at the end of the day, he's still a flawed character. I thought that was a really cool way of her basically exposing him, and using like the, I don't know, it was kind of like a role reversal, which was really cool.
Yeah, I loved the like intricacies of every single relationship. The dynamics were amazing. And I loved, like, one aspect of it that I really loved was how I felt like he was trying to be like Clem, in that he was doing whatever it takes to like put on a good show and to like razzle dazzle the people. But he also kind of took Pete's approach, when Pete was like, be fair and cautious. I think he like wanted to be like a Pete and being like cautious and like kinder. I think we could describe Pete as kinder. Like, I don't know how, definitely. I'm not gonna like put him on a pedestal, but he definitely wasn't pulling a Clem. So I think his lack of father figure and then having those two men like placed right in front of him, I think that like muddled it more for him, and it really ended up biting him in the ass, I guess. Wow. Willem Dafoe also stole the show, so that's
great.
That's
job
just
from
another
Willem.
point that I have to make. Yeah, and I loved every single little outfit that he wore.
Hey, costume design, something we didn't talk about.
I love Willem Dafoe's costume design specifically.
Yeah,
he was stunting.
Stunting.
Sorry.
Oh my god.
That. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
This is going online. I have to remember.
Yeah, I think we touched all the notes we needed to get to. Guillermo strikes again. Didn't get nominated for directing this time around, but he had already won one. He got his good award with Shape of Water.
Shape of Water was a good movie.
But production design team under Guillermo could go 2 for 2, which would be really cool.
Fingers crossed, because they deserve it completely.
I agree. I haven't seen all the rest, but it's hard to top this for sure.
Do I think this will win Best Picture? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
But do I think it should? Honestly, yes.
Oh.
I've only seen 4 of the nominations.
Right.
This was my favorite one.
Yeah. Wait, let me think about that. Ooh, I don't know. Well, we haven't gotten to King Richard yet, but
okay, fair. Like I said, I've only seen 4,
Richard,
so
but
I'm judging very early. But I think this is my favorite one.
There you go. There you have it,
now I'm trying
folks.
to think of, like, which ones have I seen? Now I'm, like, forgetting. I know that it was 4 of them. Okay, whatever. That's besides the point.
Be sure to stay tuned to see our thoughts on the others, to see how
don't look up.
develop.
Like, come on.
Right,
this is winning over.
Don't Look Up's not going to win. We kind of talked about that. The first 2 we definitely, like, recognize. Like, Don't Look Up and Dune good, but they're not going to win it. Like, sure, they got the nod. Good for them, but they're not going to win it. And that's fine.
I'm just a really
Dune got so many other nominations, so they'll be fine.
Dune will win something. I enjoyed Dune, don't get me wrong, but this was great.
Probably
Licorice Pizza.
I think they could get score. I think Dune will get score.
Yeah.
Because like sound design was so big for them. Anyways, we're
Licorice
out of
Pizza
time.
was great. Love the Haim sisters. Anyway, thanks for watching.